Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket twos. We're in the cutoff. We're going to start looking at cutoff spots and then mid position spots. So here we have a limper in mid position. This is 10 NL. We're seven-handed. He plays 25-3, fairly loose passive. Mid position. VPIP is 21%, raise first in 7%, limp first in 15%. So we're looking at a range that could look something like this. Don't know if it is, but this is a decent starting point. You've got some of these pocket pairs. Basically looked at like 21% of hands, which included these, and then it started taking out like 6 or 7%. So I would assume he would raise pre-flop with hands like that. And we'll add nines in there. So you can see he's missing like the big hands, premium hands, but he's got some speculative hands. It's on me on the cutoff. This is my ISO range. So we've got our always isolate, and then we have our optional isolate. I think I'm going to prefer to isolate here instead of limping behind. I don't really want to take twos multi-way, so I'm going to try to raise if everyone folds. Oh, well, that's 2.5 big blinds. So I raised the 4. Probably could have raised the 5. It's probably the better bet size. Button calls. He's playing 15-10 over 100 hands. When we look at his range on the button, he's only played 8% of hands, 1 out of 12 here. And his raise first in's 1 out of 3. So the one time that he did play, he raised it. We don't have any cold calls in the button, and really you see more cold calls in the big blind than anything. So this guy's range is going to be something probably like this, where you've got pocket pairs, you've got some of these suited connectors, maybe some of these broadways that he chose not to raise with, something like that. Just real speculative type hands. He gets back around to villain 4 and he calls. I'm thinking at his range, since we already have a caller, a lot of players will just go ahead and put in the other 3 big blinds and hope to get lucky. So we'll just leave his range as is. Flop comes 8-7-4. So that's kind of neutral overall in terms of nut advantage. Yes, we have aces, kings, queens hands, but I think all of us have 8s, 7s, 4s. I think all of us have like 9, 10, and 5, 6, probably 5, 6. So I don't think anyone's like really ahead by much here. So villain 4 checks, not surprisingly, and it's on me. So we're looking at what do we bet, what do we check here. Since nobody really has anything super strong, I'm thinking we have straights and sets and overpairs. Those are like our good hands in our top pair. I'm not sure if we should be betting this overall. I guess since we have 2 opponents, it's a 3-way pot, we probably have to be a little bit more straightforward with our play. So I would say maybe we could be betting those, and then maybe betting our gut shots. And when we think about 2-card backdoor flush draws or overcards, I think with our 2-card backdoor flush draws, I think these are the ones where we're looking at our broadways and possibly 9-8, 10-8, maybe all of the ace X's. I think we've got straight potential there. Yeah, maybe just all of them, because we do have like pairs or straight potentials. So maybe we do kind of go bet somewhat wide. I think if we bet our pairs, let's fix these. 9, 8, 10, 8, king 8. Those are all top pair hands. So let's get those out of our drawing range. 2 pair is 8, 7. Yeah, I think I'd leave these other ones as kind of like middle pair. Middle pair, 5-6. I mean, we could probably bet 100%, but I don't think that's going to accomplish much. I really don't. I think if we bet, I don't think we're generating folds that we need. So maybe like this is about 60%. This is probably what we should be going for. It's these bottom pairs and no, you know, none of these other hands. I think that matters, that we're going to be checking. I think we could call with the bottom pair. If we check and like this guy bets, we could call just to see what he does on the turn. But if he calls too, I think we just dump our hand. So he checks behind. So let's get this. We're getting no made hand. We need to X these out. There we go. So 41% we're checking. And then villain checks. He has an opportunity to bet. I'm going to say he doesn't have a straight or two pair or an over pair. Maybe he has top pair. Maybe he has all of these draws. His c-bet stats isn't unusual, but I think him checking kind of reveals a little bit more about the strength of his hand. We still don't know about villain 4. So 3 hearts comes out on the turn. Villain 4 checks. I think this could be a spot. If he had a straight, he might bet here. If he has a set, he probably would bet. If he has 2 pair, probably would bet here to try to get some folds, because now the board's, you know, not only does it have a straight draw out on it, but it has a flush draw as well. I still think maybe top pair just checks. Let's just do 50% for the top pair. And then everything else I think just checks. So 89% for that player. We check, and I think with our hand, once we checked, I think we're going to be checking again. I think even if we have the straight, actually no, we're going to be betting the set. So I guess we don't have the set. Like we could have had pocket threes. And at this point, you bet that, then we're just throwing in like one. We're throwing in like something that is just completely misses, just as a bluff, just to balance. But I don't think so. I don't think we're betting here. And then last villain check. So here again, I'm going to discard those. I think at this point, top pair should be betting, and I think most people do bet. And I think middle pair bets too. So we're looking at maybe 5s or 6s, no made hand, something like that. Could we get rid of the draws? Nah, I don't think so. I think enough people will check their draws behind that it's we can include it. Rivers is 7 diamonds. We all check. So villain 4 checks. I don't think 3 of a kind's betting, but I think all these other ones, they could all bet. They've got some showdown value. I think for us, we're just betting behind, checking behind. We could be behind to any of these lower pairs. We don't really have anything that we could bet at for value in this point. Once we've checked, we just kind of always checked. So I think the check is appropriate based on how we've played this hand. And then this player bet, or checked. So again, I think weak. So overall, you can kind of see that this out of position player is probably the strongest, because he might have a pair that's afraid to bet, or to try to, you know, he might be a little bit trappy. So we have ace queen. Does this guy have ace queen in his range? No, he's got ace jack. So I assumed he would have raised that pre-flop, but if we put it back in, I think that's definitely well within his range. So we're gonna mark him down. So he limp called, MP versus cutoff ISO for big blind with ace of spades, queen of diamonds, out of position. Then he check, check, check on a 8 of clubs, 7 of hearts, 4 spades board, 3 hearts, 7 diamonds. Okay, copy that. All right, so ace queen's in his range, and then we've got another ace queen. Does this guy have ace queen in his range? He has ace jack in his range, and again, I assumed he would have raised, but maybe he has something like that. If he has ace jack, he'll have ace queen if he started with that. So still like ace high hand. We'll take notes on this player. So this was pre-flop. Call, cut off, ISO for big in button or on button with ace of diamonds, queen of spades. He is in position and check, check, check. So we won this hand, took this down. They were both a little bit stronger than we expected. I think when we look at our play, could we have played it differently? Yeah, we could have bet. And I'm going to go back to this flop decision. And we had a lot of hands that we were thinking about betting here. I think we could have bet a lot of hands. And we apply pressure. We bet. It's possible that both of these hands fold when we pick up the pot with our twos. We allowed them to potentially realize their equity by checking. But at the same time, when we think about ranges and thinking opponents, I mean, if I'm one of these guys, this board does not hit me. This board does not hit the pre-flop raiser, the isolation raiser. And when we look at our overall range here, let's just undo that. We're looking at if I bet and I'm betting all of these hands and you face a raise, what hands are we really calling with? I don't think we can call with gut shots. I don't think we can, I mean, I think potentially we call with an open ender, but we don't really have any flush. We're not really calling with backdoor gut shots. So if we're betting 60% of the hands, but then only call it continuing with like 20% if at best, so like we're probably calling 13 plus 5, 18, yeah, about 20. We're only continuing with about 20% of hands. We're folding 66% of the time. That's a pretty good raise. So like I bet this guy could easily raise, apply pressure to get this guy to fold, and I probably fold too. Or I bet this guy calls, he could easily check raise and apply pressure on both of us. It's going to be hard for me to call knowing that this guy already called. And it'd be hard for me to call even with some of my overpairs. So like 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, kings. I mean, I have to look at the texture of that board and say, this guy could realistically have the straight. He could realistically have trip 7s or trip 8s or trip 4s, and I could be drawing dead. So I think there are different ways you can play it that apply pressure, and I think those are plays that we could easily do. Now, would I ever be in a situation where I could execute that check raise? No, probably not, because I'm not going to be limping. Maybe that's a weakness in the game where I don't really have a limping range. But then again, if he limps, if he limps and I limp, then it's likely we're going to go 5-way on this pot, and surely someone's going to connect. So raising, thinned the field and gave me a chance to win this pot. So the flop, I think, coming up with this range of betting, I think we probably need to be a little bit tighter on our betting range. Maybe bet those, but check like aces and kings, and sometimes bet queens. So that we have the big pocket pairs in our checking range. We don't bet like the top pair or the middle pair or any of these pairs. So we have those hands all in our range that could connect. Maybe leave like the straight draws, but then bet like the gut shots. Like use the gut shots as our balancing range. So I won the sand. Didn't quite get all the hands, but I think if it was initially, if we included ace queen in their range, in their pre-flop range, then I think we would have had a hand in their range. I think overall, I'm not surprised I won with my pocket twos. I think any top pair plus hand was probably going to bet at some point. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.